Beneath the patriotic slogans, the neon skylines, and the everyday routines of American life, there exists a hidden architecture designed not to be seen, but to be felt. A structure that many insiders quietly call the American Secrets Network. A complex system of shadow programs, covert surveillance, classified research, and buried truths that stretches from federal agencies to private corporations and beyond. Many Americans go about their daily lives unaware that this network influences everything from the technology in their homes to the policies that shape their freedoms, and even the stories they are told about history, security, and national identity. When people talk about America, they talk about democracy and freedom, but behind the symbols and speeches lies a parallel America, one that thrives in classified briefing rooms, encrypted servers, and secure facilities locked behind biometric gates. Some experts trace the roots of this secret network back to World War II, when intelligence agencies realized that modern power wouldn't just be determined by military force, but also by data, secrecy, and psychological persuasion. After the war, as global threats grew and ideological conflict spread, the United States expanded covert operations across dozens of agencies, creating compartmentalized programs where even high-ranking officials were kept out of the loop unless their roles required it. Today, documents and reports suggest that the average American would be stunned to know how many layers of secrecy protect government projects that rarely see daylight, not because the public couldn't understand them, but because exposure might shift the balance of political and economic power across the world. What makes the American Secrets Network so difficult to trace is that it does not operate inside a single organization. Instead, it appears as a web. Federal intelligence bodies partnering with defense contractors, aerospace firms joining hands with tech companies, universities lending research teams to classified innovation, and private labs working on experimental science that never reaches public journals. Whistleblowers over the decades have described fragments of this system. Surveillance programs that track digital footprints across social platforms and web browsers, military contracts developing unmanned systems and autonomous weapons far beyond what is publicly disclosed, behavior analysis projects mapping group psychology to predict social unrest, and even information campaigns designed to shape public perception during moments of crisis. But every whistleblower only ever reveals a sliver because no single person sees the entire structure. That is the hallmark of the network, compartmentalization. Engineers may spend decades developing technology without knowing what it will be used for. Analysts might interpret data without knowing where it came from. Researchers might solve equations without knowing the application. And somewhere, only a small circle of decision-makers are allowed to assemble the full picture. Technology changed everything. In the early 2000s, as the information age exploded, the American Secrets Network expanded exponentially. Data became the new oil. Personal devices became tracking tools. Algorithms learned to map consumer habits and political sentiment. According to numerous cybersecurity reports, many platforms and services that Americans use every day quietly pass digital exhaust to sources beyond the consumer's control, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes through hidden agreements, and sometimes through vulnerabilities that experts say are too convenient to be accidental. Critics argue that national security is the justification used to gather and monitor information at a scale previous generations could not even imagine. Supporters counter that such surveillance prevents terrorism and major cyber threats, and that ordinary citizens have nothing to fear if they are not doing anything wrong. But the truth is more layered than either side admits. Control of information means control of behavior, and control of behavior means control of society. The American Secrets Network operates not only to protect national security, but also to preserve a balance of power that benefits those who already have authority. Corporate America plays a larger role in this hidden system than most people assume. Government agencies often outsource projects to private companies because private companies are not bound to the same transparency laws as federal agencies. Tech giants, pharmaceutical corporations, and defense manufacturers frequently hold patents and intellectual property that originated from secret research paid for with taxpayer money. According to several investigative journalists, some companies maintain research campuses with multiple security levels, where only a handful of executives know the full scope of operations. Even employees with top clearance are often told only what they need to know for a narrow job function. Internal leaks and anonymous testimonies describe research into advanced drone warfare, biological enhancement, neurotechnology, deep learning surveillance, and unconventional propulsion systems that seem decades ahead of public technological capabilities. Whether every claim is true is impossible to verify, but the persistence of independent reports over decades suggests a pattern that is hard to dismiss. If there is a psychological dimension to the American Secrets Network, it rests on silence. Silence is the currency of secrecy. Silence ensures continuity. The public doesn't ask questions because they assume that if something is serious enough, the government or experts will handle it. Meanwhile, those who know enough to feel uneasy don't speak for fear of being labeled paranoid or disloyal. Careers, reputations, and even sometimes personal safety depend on staying quiet. History shows that individuals who expose too much, whether about covert surveillance, classified weapons testing, or secret diplomatic operations, often face legal actions, character assassination, or exile. Some whistleblowers argue that secrecy has become so deeply interwoven with national operations that the system can no longer distinguish between protecting Americans and protecting itself. According to many security analysts, secrecy is not inherently evil. Every nation needs strategies that cannot be published publicly. But the question that echoes across decades is whether secrecy has grown beyond what a democracy can ethically sustain. As part one of this long investigation unfolds, we begin to grasp how the American Secrets Network doesn't operate like a conspiracy theory written on a forum board. It operates like a machine, logical and self-reinforcing, built over generations with its own rules, incentives, and survival instincts. What we see on the surface, the voting booths, the publicly broadcast congressional hearings, the speeches about freedom, are real. But they are only one layer of the American story. Beneath it lies a network not designed to be understood, but engineered to endure, even if someday every person who built it is gone. And as this exploration continues, the world that we think we know may not be the world as it truly is, and recognizing that is the first step toward understanding the hidden forces shaping America today.